Woo! It's Wednesday. Good morning. Let's go. Q&A. Your questions are up for grabs. If you have none, nothing will happen. Looking forward to whatever you are to share. And a happy summer. Yeah, we can count on you, Victor.
I won't be here next week. So yeah, regarding to regarding to questions, I started to question how much time I need to spend on writing posts, and I noticed that I created a certain uh, type of a certain amount of pride in writing those posts, and I've been spending like something 2 hours on on a post daily. And yesterday I had my session with my coach, and I felt overwhelmed. Like it's good that my calendar is full with coaching conversations. Um, Same time, I started to see that things started to slip. I started to also use it as a procrastination from certain tasks I'm not I don't like doing. So the big learning was for me is to reassess of what is it that really bringing in clients.
Yes.
And while posts are great, um, that's not where my clients come from currently.
Yes.
It's a nice thing for many reasons. Like I formulate my ideas. Maybe I can sometimes I can dish out content to clients, so that's a way to serve them. Um, but it's to use the the amount of time that makes sense to it. So what is my question here is I think I'm not quite sure what what the question is, but like this is probably it's more of a share for now is to see like this is where I'm at, and I don't quite know. I mean, the solution I came to is to one look at my calendar and really be decisive from now on what is it that brings me forward. I think up to this point I was able to get away with doing all sort of stuff because I I wasn't that full, but now it kind of surfaced that I was doing things that don't necessarily have to be done as I'm having less time. So again, I don't know what the question is, but maybe if anyone kind of like relates to it, or if there is anything that
Um,
you're seeing that.
so first of all, what is your metrics to see if the effort in content is working?
Um, so the metrics so far is the amount of engagement I see, which I know that it's probably a fraction of how many people see it, but like there are a couple of likes maybe on a post,
Yeah.
and that's that. If I
And what's the platform you're focusing on?
so I share the same content on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Uh, I I don't really focus on any of those. I would like to focus on LinkedIn more,
Yeah.
but I'm not focusing
Yeah.
at the
Got it.
moment.
Got it. So, I mean, first of all, if you look at where your clients come from, right? And you see like none of them came through content, they come through different means.
Yeah.
Then whatever the means are that work for you, most likely spending more time on that is probably the highest return you have on your time investment.
Yeah.
But it's always the question, what are you optimizing for?
Yeah.
Because if you look into the future and you would like people to come to you that you haven't met before, that are just reading your content, watch a video, and then say like, hey, Victor, I'd love to have a conversation with you, then that is to be built through the content you create, but it has a time delay.
Mm.
Like if you start creating content, it's probably not going to work within 3 months. It's probably not even going to work within 8 months. And you don't see how the content works right now, because you're going to have conversations with people that are in your network, but they also consume your content, which to them can place you on a different level than maybe somebody else that they're looking at and consuming from. So that's like a bit of the, I'd say like that's a bit of the hard thing with the content that we write. Like I'm writing a message to people on Facebook currently, where I'm basically saying that I'm using Facebook mainly professionally, that I think I posted that in the community, right? So it's a message that I sent to people basically saying, hey, I'm using this with this intention. If you want to be connected because you enjoy this kind of content about personal development and entrepreneurship, um, be my guest. If you don't, and there's no other reason that you'd like to stay connected for, then let's disconnect, because I'm not looking to accumulate numbers on my Facebook, and I invite you to make some space too, right? Basically, that's the essence. So I'm sending
Mm.
that to people that I have no idea who they are.
Mm.
And I was surprised how many of them say, oh, I'd love to stay connected. I read your posts and I really like them. I'm like, wow,
Mm.
didn't think so, right? That's the hidden side. However, if you're looking at what is the highest return on investment, Victor, I think you know. I think you don't even have a question there. Like if I ask you, what do you think if you could only do one thing every day to create clients, what would that be?
Um, it's reaching out to people and scheduling conversations, you know. And there are many ways I can do that. Content is one fraction of it. So if I or when I'm reaching out, I might use content as well, but that's a small fraction of it.
Yeah.
I use now meetup.com as well. I ask for clients for referrals. I go and look at what WhatsApp groups I'm part of, what this and that, and just schedule conversations and go from there. So I look at basically existing circles as where I can reach out, and
Okay.
then
Then I have a different
connect.
question. Then I have a different question for you, Victor. If you could only keep two channels, groups, ways to accumulate clients right now, right? You're only allowed to be in two groups or two social media channels, or like you have to cut it down to two for whatever reason, right? There are only two ways left. And you could say like, okay, I stay on LinkedIn and I reach out to clients or through WhatsApp, and that's it, right? Like you had to cut out everything but two channels. What are
Mm.
the channels that come up for you? Like, oh, this I really need to keep. That's where my client came from.
First one would be WhatsApp, which is strange, which is not a platform for it's a it's a communication channel, but for some reason that's where I spend most of my time. And I think there are a lot of groups there, and I can create groups. And the other one is Facebook. Like those are the things that have worked so far the most. Maybe because I've been using only those, but those are the things that have worked too. So
Yeah.
yeah. Another thing I noticed, which is more of a being thing, is how much currently I lead my life by being afraid of saying no, and how like I've been exploring prosperity and expanding my financial or like my money mindset, and it has been coming up, but really now I'm really fuck like that's the thing. I'm afraid to not be on a platform. I'm afraid to not be connected with someone. I'm afraid of losing out on something, and because of that I do everything, and often I do not that I do nothing, but it's rather I really try to do everything, and then I'm exhausted, I'm not present, I'm maybe just really like don't have more depth to do to really focus. So I'm not as focused as I could be on the right stuff because I try to optimize for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not optimization. So that's something I realized as well as we spoke, and it will be good for me to keep bringing that back because, yeah, that's a theme.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. And I think probably people here can relate, trying to do everything. I and it's probably not the advice I follow myself, but I was reading a book about business, and they said up to 1 million in revenue, it's like one customer avatar, one channel of acquisition, one product. And if you can get that down, that gets you to 1 million. I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? Like I'm on 5 different channels. I'm doing 5 different things. I have 5 different offers, right? And I think, I mean, that's just my opinion, right? Like in this time, it gets more and more and more information. And the simpler we become, the easier it is also for the other side to say yes to whatever we're offering. And if you look, I mean, I think your current clients are coaches, consultants, like kind of that direction, right, Victor?
Um, yes, and I'm branching out.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm branching
So
out now. I
one of
have
the
other type of clients now too.
one of the things I would assume, right? This is
Mm,
just what I see is if you want to get more into the world of business and talk to business owners and make that your clientele, probably focusing on LinkedIn would be a good idea because
yeah.
that's where they are. Like I have had several conversations in the last weeks with business owners, none of which is on Facebook, all of
Mm,
which are on LinkedIn.
yeah.
And funny enough, many of them are on Instagram, right?
Mm,
So I was surprised. I was like, oh, interesting, right? I didn't find them on X. I didn't find them on Facebook, but I found them on LinkedIn.
mm,
So that might be like if that's really something you wanna pursue and you want to get in front of people that are more the clients that you want.
yeah.
I would say like in terms of social media, LinkedIn is probably the place where you can reach them. However,
Mm,
most of the possibility that we can access in a short term is through our existing network. And it could be as simple as letting everyone know the kind of clients you're looking for, right? And even your current clients are connected to people that work in a company that are in a leadership position. And sometimes even there is no competition within the coaching world, because the guy that I know might be my cousin. And I don't have a relationship with them to coach them, but I know you, and I know he's struggling, and you let me know like, hey, I love working with managers, and I love working with people in those niches or directions. And just letting everyone know that you do that could also be a move to actually get in front of
yeah,
them. And
yeah.
it's and you know the people that you can reach out to. And Victor, the other thing is, if writing for 2 hours every day is exhausting you.
I love it. So that's also something I realized, that I actually, while you were talking, I I felt like a bit of like I don't want to stop it, right?
Mhm.
And the other thing is, I think once I commit to something, I develop a certain type of pride and attachment to it, which helps me keep the commitment, which sometimes good, sometimes bad, because I tend to keep bad commitments as well. Um, but like I see that, I don't want to give up before it would start to work.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just don't spend 2 hours on it for now. Focus on the thing that creates the client. Spend maybe 1 hour, or even try, like, can you spend half an hour? Can you just scale back maybe a little bit, but keep going with what I've been doing?
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's great. And what I'd be curious about is what creates the overwhelm for you.
That's a very good question. So the process, how I make myself feel overwhelmed, I look at my calendar, see all the little like dots and the names and everything and what needs to be done, and like, oh fuck, like I don't know where to put them. When will I do this? And this needs to be that needs to be done. So I know it's a thinking process. It's and then I create this relationship with my calendar where it's like it starts to become a little bit like this scary thing, where I don't sit down actually scheduling things, and calls coming up which I haven't scheduled properly, while it's really not that hard, but like that's something I'm starting to see is uh, is actually, it's not as much as I'm necessarily unable to do things. It's more of a thing I do in the moment
Mm-hmm.
of when it comes to scheduling, looking at my calendar and thinking about my calendar in a certain way, and then not sitting down of uh, putting time into it. And I'm thinking it's like a relationship where I wouldn't put time into the relationship. Of course, it's not going to be good. So yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. So I mean, it might be worth, and then is there anyone having any other question just to check? Secret? No? Okay, so we stay on it. Um,
Thank you guys.
so I mean, one is the relationship you have to it, and what I hear is you get overwhelmed by things not being properly scheduled, and then you get scared of your calendar, so you don't sit down to properly schedule things. And then you're
Yeah,
overwhelmed, and then you look at the things you do, and they look like they are the problem.
yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, that's one, Victor, that's one, and it might be worth looking and distinguishing what are the thoughts that come up when you look at your calendar and when you are about to get into a meeting, to just start to see what your mind's producing,
Mm,
right? In the moment you can see those thoughts, you're not them, right?
mm,
The other thing I still wonder about is doing many things, being in many places, saying yes to many things.
what do I get out of it?
Yeah. Or I mean, I have an idea, and I think you kind of mentioned something around it. But yeah, what is it that
There is a weird satisfaction in that. E- Even as a teenager or a young adult, I had like five hobbies and run from school from to one hobby to another, and I enjoyed it. There is a certain kind of it's exhilarating of trying to do a lot of. It's exciting to trying to do a lot of stuff. Um, so that's one thing. The other thing is by that making myself busy, so I can avoid the things that are not so I deem not so pleasant.
for example?
For example, scheduling. Um, yeah, scheduling. What else? I don't know. There are a couple of things that I've been putting off, more administrative tasks. Yeah,
Can anyone
yeah.
relate to putting off administrative tasks? Who is still doing that? Yeah.
And also like justifying it that this is not what where my clients come from. So I need to spend more time on this or business development. That's another thing. Like not thinking about what will be the next good step because again spending time on uh, creating conversations and a lot of time on content creation, right? That's what's going to create clients. So the other week I sat down for a few hours thinking about my business and I found it really useful. And that's something I rarely do. Or preparing for coaching conversations, preparing for questions to bring. And that's something I don't do. And I paid in for all of these things and I don't prepare for them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a bit frustrated with myself, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's those are the things that
So I never prepare for a coaching conversation.
I mean, like, even to this, I mean, I brought something, but
Yeah.
I thought that maybe they would be much more effective if I would, you know, reflect prior as a client of
Yeah.
what do I want to bring.
Could be.
Could be.
Could also be that you're sped up in your head because you're so focused on something, so you're not present to the conversation. Could also be. I mean, Victor, I'm making a bit of fun of you, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Because
I get it.
because like, could it be that you're trying to be perfect?
Oh yeah, story of my life.
Yeah, like I mean, in my mind also, like it would be really great if I never eat bread. I don't drink as much coffee as I do. I get up at 5 in the morning to first go for a walk without anything in my ears, right? It would be great if I prepare for all my sessions. It would be great if I take notes in my sessions. It'd be great if I, like shut off my working time at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and then always call my parents. And yeah, there are many things that would be great, but I don't do them.
What I'm getting from from what you shared is like this is how I've been living basically is that, you know, I've been always juggling, and that means that some things fall. So uh, I I always been and kind of embraced things. Like I think I read somewhere that one leadership style is controlled chaos, and that resonates with me. Like that's so much, and that's what I'm hearing is like maybe it is how it is, and that's that. It's like all this business is a controlled chaos at best. And so, okay, we talked about these things, where to focus, how to optimize. There are things that uh, for me to work on. Um, but probably like I had a bit of too high expectation of how things should be right now. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah, it sounds like that to me,
Okay.
right? And like there's a difference between striving for you could say like getting better at things and improving them, and then being in the lack of not being there yet. So there's a nice concept that I really like. I borrowed that from Dan Sullivan. I don't know if you know the guy. He wrote this book, 10x is easier than 2x, and a couple
Okay.
other books. Um, and he says, our goals are always aspirational, right? Like we have ideals that we put out in front of us. So you have an idea of how life could be. I have an idea of like how I could be, right? And the nature of those goals is you never arrive at them, because in the moment you get there, you already have something out in front of you again, right? Like in the moment you make your first 5K, 10K arrive, right? Like in the moment you make the 10K, 20K arrive. And it's like, it's always going out in front of you. And there's no problem with that. It's like the line on the horizon. You never reach it. You always walk towards it, but you never arrive there, right? And that's the nature of most of our goals, because as I said, you achieve them and you go forward. And he said, that's so, right? Like you're there and there's the thing you want. You can then either be in the gain or in the gap. And being in the gain is you, Victor. And if we would have a bit more time, I could ask you like 3 months ago to today, what's the progress you made in all areas of your business with yourself, like how you developed, and you look at the progress and you see like I
Mm.
went from writing once a week or so to writing every day. I went from having, I don't know, 5 clients to having 8 clients. I went from having like 3 conversations a week to having like 10 conversations a week, and right, you could look at the progress, and if you were to do that, you'd probably feel great. Now, if you look from where you are to where you think you want to be, you are in the gap, because what you see is where you're not yet. Right? And it's like, I were to give you a compliment, Victor, right? Like, hey man, so great that you write every day. And you're like, yes, but I need 2 hours for that. That is being in the gap, right? Because you immediately look at what's not there yet. And what they found is the difference between somebody who tends to be in the gap to somebody who tends to be in the gain is not that their situations are different, but one doesn't enjoy the journey and the other does enjoy the journey. Right? So since I heard that, I catch myself, I'm like, oh, I'm in the gap, right? And it doesn't change anything about the goal I have. It doesn't change anything about where I am, simply where you're looking at and how you're looking there, right? So if you were, with that concept, to look at the gain you made, I assume you feel pretty good about yourself, because I know you put in the work, you made progress. If you think like 1 year ago to today, you made progress, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because, yeah, as you say, if I'm not consciously looking into what have I achieved, it seems like I'm standing still. And that's just simply not true. Like, if I'm consciously looking back, there is improvement, and there are days when I'm seeing that, and there are days when but it seems like it's not even true. Right? That's very interesting. Yeah, our goals are always aspirational, meaning that we can always look for where we are not,
Yeah.
or who we are not yet. It just depends, like, where do we spend our time, and I suppose whatever we focus grows here. So if I'm focusing on the gap, like, I'm not going to enjoy. I'm not gonna, and I noticed that even with my post, that as soon as that awareness arose that maybe I'm spending too much time, I started to enjoy less.
Yeah.
The daily writing, and the quality started to drop, or at least that was my perception. Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, if anything pops up with that, feel free to share in the community. And I mean, this is for everyone, really, right? Like, it's looking at the glass half full to looking at the glass half empty, right? It's always possible, and it's all occurring in thought, not in the world. It's not in what you do. It's your relationship to it that is thought created, that creates your experience of it. So if you are in the gain about something, you just enjoy the journey more. And in the end, I think that's the goal. Because like we're not going to take any of our achievements anywhere. Good. I wish you a wonderful week ahead. See most of you tomorrow. And thank you, Victor, for throwing yourself in the trenches and bring some value to everyone else.
Thank you for the coaching, and thank you guys for giving the space.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.